Hi, Criminology. So we are moving into week 4. This week, there are a couple of things that, in regards to reading, that you need to make sure you read. You are going back to chapter 4. However, it's just deterrence theory in chapter 4, which is a couple of pages. And we're tacking on chapter 5. Chapter 5 is on crime as choice. And I'm going to get right into it. Not even going to waste any time. Let's get this out of the way. So this is just a lecture on chapter 5. I will repost the chapter 4 lecture just in case for those of you who need into this week's module as well. So you will see that on Monday morning. Okay, so right now, again, chapter 5, crime as choice, rationality, emotion, and criminal behavior. So before we get into the chapter itself, I do want to go over some of the learning objectives that our authors want us to make sure we have a handle on or have a hold on by the end of this week. You should be able to evaluate and articulate the nature of rationality and its constraints. You should be able to evaluate the assumptions and key strengths and weaknesses of rational choice theory. You should be able to evaluate the assumptions and key strengths and weaknesses of routine activities theory. You should be able to evaluate the assumptions and key strengths and weaknesses of cultural theories. You should be able to describe cultural criminology's point about the primacy of emotions in motivating criminal behavior. And you should also be able to discuss the crime prevention policy recommendations offered by the 3 theories. So those 3 theories, again, are rational choice theory, routine activities theory, and cultural theories. And we're going to get into it. So returning to classic assumptions of human nature, failure of the positivist school of thought to account for the high rates of crime gave way for the reemergence of the neoclassical ideas of human nature pertaining to rational thoughts and free will. For this school, offenders are rational actors responsible for their own actions. So these offenders, these criminals, again, are rational. If you recall back to chapter 4, right? When in regards to rationality, these offenders are, weighing the costs and the benefits before and during, okay? So they are aware of what is about to happen, what they're doing, etc. They are responsible for their own actions. Rational choice theory and routine activity theory emphasize the role of criminal situations and opportunities and the ratio of benefits to risk in making decisions about whether to engage in criminal behavior. Getting into the cultural criminology. Cultural criminology emphasizes upon the role of emotions rather than rationality. Okay, it rejects the positivist and deterministic background theories. Okay, but the main theories that we're going into again are rational choice theory, routine activity theory, and cultural theories. Okay, rational choice theory. Okay, rational choice theory believes that criminal behavior is ultimately a choice. It's a choice made in the context of personal and situational constraints and opportunities, okay? Rational choice theory substitutes free will for human agency, which maintains humans have the capacity to make choices and the responsibility to make moral ones, regardless of internal or external constraints on one's ability to do so, okay? So humans have the capacity to make choices, again, weighing the costs and benefits. And we also have a human agency, okay? We choose, okay? No one is forcing us, okay? There are constraints, there are opportunities, and we ultimately make that choice, okay? But what is rationality? Okay. Rationality is the quality of thinking and behaving in accordance with logic and reason. Okay. According to Max Weber, rationality is two broad types. Okay. So Max Weber is a sociologist, and remember, our discipline, criminology, it is a mixture of disciplines that includes social work, not social work, social psychology, and history. Okay, but according to Max Weber, rationality is of two broad types. Okay. Pardon my German, I don't know German, but I do know Luxembourgish, which is right next door to Germany. Okay. So, Zweck-Rationalität, okay, that's the purpose or instrumental. Rationality is a self-serving means or ends. Rationality is assumed to be innate. Okay, again, that's Zweck-Rationalität. Okay, you don't have to include the tat. Okay, the second one is Wertrationalität. Okay, it's a value such as honor or duty to some revered entity or idea. Okay, so it's work, self-serving means ends, rationality assumed to be innate. Work, right, a value such as honor or duty to some revered entity or idea. What are the constraints on rationality? Okay, rationality is subjective and bounded. Okay, criminals behave rationally from their private models of reality within the limits of time, resources, and information available to them. Rational choice theorists call it choice structuring. And here again is an image illustrating rational choice theory, okay, where we have the assumptions. Assumptions are that humans are rational, again, motivated to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. Again, go back to chapter 4. I believe it's Lombroso or Bentham, or maybe both, because Bentham bridges. So assumptions, okay. Then criminal opportunities. So some examples of those criminal opportunities being an unlocked car. Ooh, what can I get? A bedroom window's open. Ooh, what can I get or what can I do? A woman walking alone in the dark, you know, like, let me mug, let me whatever. Drunk lying on the ground, etc. Choice structuring, right? Is this target vulnerable? How do I go about getting it? Is anyone around? How do I make my escape? Okay, etc. And then that leads to the actual criminal event. Okay, so again, pause the video right here. This is an example of rational choice theory at play. So again, there is some thought process that is going on, right, in regards to whether one has opportunities or constraints. And that person then, again, like thinking about, again, your book says choice structuring, but thinking about how to go about getting it and then the event happening, okay? Routine activities theory, okay? Routine activity theory discounts what others see as causes of crime, such as poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Again, routine activity theory discounts what others see as causes of crime, such as poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Okay? Routine activity points out that crime is the result of motivated offenders meeting suitable targets that lack capable guardians. It also looks at crime from the point of view of both the offender and of crime prevention efforts. Okay. So evaluating rational choice and routine activities theory. Okay. So the most glaring criticism of rational choice and routine activities theory is the assumption of rationality. Rationality cannot by itself explain some things, something as variable as human behavior. The incentive and disincentive to law-abiding or criminal behavior are perceived differently because of ingrained habits. Okay. Another evaluation of this theory is that they believe that criminals are not fundamentally different from non-criminals, and that everyone may be motivated to commit a crime at some point or time in their lives if the benefits are large enough, and the possible costs are negligible, and ignore social conditions they see as giving rise to motivated offenders. Routine activity theory specifically ignores social conditions. Okay. And another figure that is taken from your book, routine activities theory's model of when a criminal event is likely to occur. Again, you need a motivated offender, okay? There needs to be the absence of a capable guardian, so someone there to protect and someone there to intervene if this crime is to occur. And again, a suitable target, and then the crime. I forget what you call this kind of figure, Venn diagram, okay? Okay, so getting to cultural criminology, this is in reference to culture theories. We just went over rational choice theory and we went over routine activity theory. So here we're going to go over culture theories, cultural criminology. When it comes to cultural criminology, it positions itself in direct opposition to rational choice theory and provides an opportunity to discuss a prime motivator of behavior that is emphasized by cultural criminology, but is seriously neglected in mainstream criminology. That is the one of emotion. Culture theories will emphasize on emotions. Emotions are a prime motivator of criminal behavior. Cultural criminologists use the term analpis to describe the presence of virtually total cynicism and nihilism. Virtually no opinion, no realistic expectations, no hope, and no fear of authority. The relationship of rationality and emotion. Criminologists see the role of emotion as toxic enemies of reason that instigate only negative behavior and have no adaptive positive function of their own, okay? Emotion is seen as intervening between a perception and an action as relative deprivation, okay, leading to resentment, envy, and anger, and ultimately crime. For cultural criminologists, most criminals are impulsively motivated by short-run hedonism, which is expressive, malicious, and destructive, rather than the instrument for attaining material wants. Okay. And if you don't remember what hedonism is, please refer back to chapter 4, okay, as well as rationality. And I think later on, I am going to go into pain and pleasure, and remember Jeremy Bentham and also Lombroso, okay? All in chapter 4. Evaluating cultural criminology. Looking at crime from the offender's subjective point of view is valuable as long as we don't find ourselves excusing their behavior, as cultural criminologists are often inclined to do. Cultural criminology has done the discipline a service by emphasizing the role of emotions in the commission of crime, because emotions have long been treated as only peripherally in criminology. So when it comes to evaluating cultural and looking at cultural criminology, it's a highly politicized theory of criminology. It emphasizes the role of emotions and the role that they play in crimes. And again, you know, we're not excusing criminal behavior, but we're taking into account the criminal's point of view. Okay. Cultural criminologists do tend to, though, often excuse criminal behavior. Emotions and their functions, okay? Emotion and rationality are inseparable. Modern neuroscience has demonstrated time and time again that emotion and rationality, far from being antagonists, as often assumed, are two inseparably linked components of all that we can think and do, okay? Chronic criminals are perfectly capable of reasoning. It is mainly poorly developed emotional systems that cause people to offend. And offenders discount their knowledge of moral norms and to behave according to immediate self-gratification. Okay. Primary and secondary emotions. Social emotions such as empathy, shame, embarrassment, and guilt are retrofitted to the primary emotions such as anger, fear, disgust, joy, as a mixture that broadens rather than narrows our focus and is integral to developing and strengthening social bonds. Taking advantage of criminal opportunity may be more rational in the short term because it gets one resources with little effort, but it is self-defeating in the long run. It is the immediate warning sounded by social emotions that lead others to attend to long-term consequences of their behavior despite temptation. So again, when it comes to primary and secondary emotions, social emotions are retrofitted to primary emotions. Criminal opportunity may be more rational in the short term, and social emotions make it self-defeating in the long run. Important crime preventing social emotions. Okay, positive emotions that function to prevent criminal behavior have been practically ignored in criminology. Okay, positive social emotions are integral to criminology and have been ultimately sometimes ignored. Because individuals and social groups react towards others who violate social expectations, it is adaptive for humans to have evolved social emotions such as guilt and shame to monitor and constrain negative impulses. Continuing on with important crime preventing social emotions, empathy helps access situations without conscious reflections. Guilt is other-centered because it focuses our thoughts on recognizing the rights and respects of others and how we have violated them. Shame is more self-centered because it involves an appraisal of self-worth in the light of what one has done to be ashamed. And lastly, emotions are integral to understanding criminal behavior. The social emotions are parts and parcel of what we call conscious. Conscious keeps people on the straight and narrow, and it is the lack of this conscious that grants criminals permission to prey on others. Okay. And our final section in this chapter is on policy and prevention. Okay. The key to preventing crime from the theories of rational choice and routine activities is reducing criminal opportunities. So reducing criminal opportunities would prevent crimes. Criminal opportunities can be reduced by minimizing the occasions where potential offenders and suitable targets intersect. Okay. Criminal opportunities can be reduced furthermore by arranging the environment to make it more difficult and more risky to offend. Some implications of rational choice and routine activity theories. Okay. These theories shift the policy focus from large and costly social programs such as anti-poverty programs to target hardening. They also can shift attention away from policies designed to change offenders' attitudes and behaviors towards making them more difficult and costlier for them to offend. Okay. Many of the crime prevention recommendations of neoclassical theorists revolve around the concept of crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED. Okay. And the implications of cultural criminology, our last section, our last topic. So when writing about crime prevention, cultural criminologists are more likely to point out the pitfalls of situational crime prevention. While cultural criminologists seem unable to draw any practical applications from their theory, understanding the mind and the motives of motivated offenders may lead others to devise ways of effectively dealing with them in the future. So understanding the minds and the motives of offenders will ultimately help us in the long run, okay? So that is chapter 5, okay? Crime as a choice. So again, remember you have to read chapter 4, specifically the section on deterrence theory in collaboration with chapter 5. Peace out.